So I wanted to do a quick video about what I'm sowing in February. Now I sowed a lot of stuff in January, and I did that because I've got a lot of grow lights, and that allowed me to, really supplement the light levels and bring them up to probably what a plant is expecting in March, April time. And so I was able to start lots and lots of onions and lettuces and brassicas and all sorts of stuff basically, and it's all, and peppers obviously, and it's all going really nicely. I'm very pleased with it. But in this video I'm going to talk about what to sow in February, and I think this is more generally applicable because light levels are picking up, especially by the middle of February. They really are starting to improve, and it's really quite practical to sow a lot of stuff in February. I've had a lot of success over the years with February starts. And I generally do wait till about the middle of February if I haven't got any grow lights, but you could start a little bit earlier as long as you're prepared to have plants that maybe a little bit leggy, or you've got some really nice sunny windowsills. So let's take a look. So let's initially take a very quick look at January. And as you can see, there's a lot of peppers, mainly the hot peppers, chili peppers, but just a few of the sweet peppers as well. And this is about a quarter of the peppers that I'm sowing, and they're all germinated now and growing on quite well. And then we've got potatoes, two different types for two different objectives: Swift and Aaron Pilot for the first earlies, and Charlotte's for early baking potatoes. And early baking potatoes are just left in the containers for longer. They're a different variety and they're kept a little bit warmer. And I've got a video coming out showing you how to do early baking potatoes sometime in February, or maybe even early March. Onions are doing great. They're all growing now. Everything's germinated. Everything's multi-sown, two or three seedlings per module. And a few spare broad beans and the Oregon sugar pod. These are my favourite things to be sowing right now to get an early start on that beautiful sweet pea taste in May. I'm also doing sugar snaps. They're not growing quite as strongly as the Oregon sugar pod. It's actually the first time I've done those this early, whereas I've done the Oregon sugar pod for about 2 or 3 years now. And then we've got the lettuces, quite a nice range. Grenoble red, classic winter, spring, autumn lettuce. Smile, lovely, tender oak leaf lettuce that's quite mild in taste. Canasta, a lovely crunchy spring and summer lettuce. Bijou, just look at the colour, needs no more words to recommend it. Larini, also one of my favourites, just add some really nice structure to a salad mix. Whole load more onions. And my early kales, now they're just worth mentioning. So I really like to start early kales in January, start them any earlier and they just go to seed. If you just get it right sometime in kind of mid-January, then you get a great harvest in May, early May, just when your overwintered kales are going to seed. Cucumbers just coming through now. It'll be a while before we're harvesting those, but we don't like to be without cucumbers for too long. I think we had our last harvest in November. We should get another harvest in May. We don't buy cucumbers. First batch of spinach, first batches of radishes, first batch of turnips and bolt hardy beetroot. We only grow bolt hardy at this time, so early, but we'll add some other varieties later on in the season. And leeks. At the moment we're only sowing our summer leeks. For the winter leeks we leave those until March. And lots of spring onions. So that is what we're up to in January. So let's take a look at February. So I actually have much more detail in the version of this sowing log that is linked in the description of this video, as well as details of how to get a copy of this database and customize it and make it your own. But I've just trimmed out a lot of the content so that it's just easier to look at on the video. So I'm sowing another succession of Oregon Sugar Pod, switching over from Swift to Aaron Pilot. Swift is a slightly faster growing potato. Aaron Pilot is a tastier potato. So for my super early ones, I start with Swift, then move on to Aaron Pilot. And I'll sow a couple of batches through February and into early March. And then those are the ones that we'll be harvesting in mid-April when our stored new potatoes finish in about April time. So more radishes. I recommend sowing the cherry types and the French breakfast types if you like those at the same time, and then the cherry bells mature just a few days earlier, maybe 10 days earlier, and then the French breakfast come in, so you get kind of a little bit of a succession out of the same planting. More onions, just our favourites, the Red Baron and the Zebrun, and then another batch of summer leeks, although the Electra is also a winter leek, so you can leave that to mature, and it's just great as a winter leek as well, so it's a very flexible leek. Some more cucumber, some more beetroot, again still just bolt hardy this early in the season, and that'll all be going in the polytunnel. Now tomatoes are worth mentioning. So I sow my tomatoes quite late because we get late frosts here. I think we had a frost well into mid-May, maybe even late May last year, and it's just too much hassle to try and keep them alive through those frosts. So we're only sowing a small number of early potatoes. The tiny tin will stay at home. The latter will go in the not in the conservatory, in the polytunnel, but it'll be protected with fleece, but there'll only be a few containers of those. So it's just a little bit, just a few early tomatoes. The rest of them will be done in late March and April. And similar sort of story with the brassicas. I don't really like to sow many of my brassicas until March. I just do a few sprouts for leaves and some Calabrese Marathon, my third succession of those. I don't need to do any cauliflowers. I've got plenty of cauliflowers, but you could do a few cauliflowers as well, although they would be better in March as well. Next batch of spinach. Still a bit cold for spinach, so that would go, not cold probably, still a little bit. Wild weather for spinach, so that would be protected just with a little cloche, or you could use fleece. Some more spring onions, and then we're on to the sweet peppers, and I've got a nice mix here. I've got Popti, which is early, Red Marconi, which is quite early. I've got some yellow ones this year, they're fairly new to me, but I think they just add so much lovely colour to the mixes. We've got Anaheim rather, and that starts off kind of as a sweet pepper when it's green, and then is a hot pepper when it's red, so it's quite flexible. California Wonder, which is very reliable and versatile, and Red King, which is a really big pepper, really great for stuffing and roasting, so quite a nice selection of sweet peppers. We'll probably have some lunchbox peppers as well, which I'll sow next month, but that's pretty much it. And then towards the end of the month, I'll sow some Burpees Golden, and that's I really love it as a beetroot, but can't sow it too early, so you have to kind of wait a little bit for that one to come in. And then we're on to Aaron Pilot, some for early baking potatoes. They're kept in the conservatory, kept just a little bit warmer, and left a little bit longer, and then the Arran Pilot just for salad potatoes as well. And then my first batch of lettuces, which will go outside, so they'll go in a raised bed in the back garden, protected with fleece. And I realise I'm not actually showing you the sowing date on this trimmed version. So there's the sowing dates. But all these details with all the sowing dates are in the description of the video. So a very similar range of lettuces to the ones that I sowed in January. They're going to go in cold frames. The additions this month are the Winter Density, that adds some lovely crunch to a salad mix, the Navara because it's just beautiful, and the Moon Red also adds some really lovely crunch. So that's those. Next batch of turnips to go in the Polytunnel, and then carrots. Carrots are a really important crop to us. We eat carrots every day. At the moment, we're eating carrots that's stored in the ground. We've got some carrots in containers, which will be later in early spring. And then in mid-spring, we should have our first crop from our overwintered baby carrots. And then these will start kicking in late spring and early summer. I'm also trying these short and sweet carrots in hanging baskets in the Polytunnel, and whether the hanging baskets are deep enough I'm not quite sure, but I want to try these because we've got quite a lot of hanging basket capacity in the Polytunnel, and I just like the idea of carrots growing in the Polytunnel. So my idea really is that I could sow them in August, and then I'll be ready for harvest as salad carrots in autumn. So I'm quite excited about that. So I'm just doing a few hanging baskets this time in spring just to try those out. And radishes, just always sowing radishes. So that is pretty much it. So very briefly, I just wanted to show you the view that you'll find linked in the description of this video. And this is more comprehensive, so it does tell you, for example, the varieties, the number of things that I'm sowing, when I'm sowing them, if there's a planting date, when I actually planted them, when I'm expecting to harvest them, the number of days that I've got them under grow lights, and that's just a rough estimate, and the seed packets that I've got that I'm sowing them from. Now in some cases I've got huge numbers of seeds, and in some cases I've just got one, and the planting location and the sowing location. So basically, what sort of which windowsill they're on, or cool bedrooms and things like that. Some notes on what I'm sowing, why I'm sowing it, things like that. And then there's extra info, so information on the variety that I'm sowing. Most things have got that information. So quite a lot more comprehensive info there. And I also just wanted to show you quickly the gardening book, because if we're looking at sowing, in the basics section, there's a section on sowing, and it goes through lots of videos on sowing seeds, all the compost I use, how to sow, all the equipment that I use, even down to the labels and the containers and things, which I'm always being asked about. And then also, if we just go back to the book, there are some growing guides, and it's worth just mentioning the growing guides that have been finished. So growing potatoes all year round is finished, growing carrots all year round is finished, growing brassicas for the Hunger Gap is finished, as is onions and other alliums. And I'll be finishing peas and beans and spinach very soon, and salad leaves all year round also very soon. So I'll let you know when those are done. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.